Okay, so a little review. We started yesterday, I guess, at a very timely message, I believe. That's why I kind of changed our course, because I feel like we need to be strengthened right now and hear this information strong. So we started off with understanding a little discrepancy in a couple verses that are coming up. That we find that the Jewish people, I don't want to go over the whole thing that we said yesterday, but in short, what we wound up learning is on Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av, in the 40th year of the Jewish people's sojourn in the desert, Aaron HaKohen passed away and the clouds of glory left because they were there in his merit. When they left, the Jewish people fled. They actually decided to set up, give themselves a new leadership. This was, of course, led by the Erev Rav. And they fled 8 journeys back towards Eretz Yisrael. And they said, let's make a leader and go back to Egypt. Moshe Rabbeinu sent out his league of champions, the Levim, and they chased them down, and they fought with them, and they eventually brought them back. And we started to say that this story is a lesson for all times. First of all, I sort of just brought out my own insight to the fact that when there's a time, basically Rosh Chodesh Av, which is usually considered a time when Jews are very careful, and we have all kinds of halachas which prohibit us from simcha, and it's kind of just, you're not supposed to travel, and you're not supposed to be, doing anything dangerous and so forth. And it occurred to me, why Rosh Chodesh Av? Because really there's this feeling that our protection has left us. It hasn't happened. Right? We're still being protected exactly the same way by Hashem. And in fact, the clouds of glory anyway came back in the schutz of Moshe, we know later. But for temporarily, there's this feeling that we're left open to danger. And so the idea is that what happens at that moment, we see that this Erev Rav, and we find that the Erev Rav, they're up to their same tricks. What made them the Erev Rav in the first place is 40 years earlier, they went to go and try and get the Jewish people to worship the golden calf. And the Levim, at that point, were separated from the rest of the Jewish people and told, Mila Hashem Elai, who's with me, says Moshe, and who is with Hashem, says Moshe, come to me. And he said, Yoshua, I can't help it. What do you have to say, sir? Okay, I see your hands up. So, who's with me? So the Levim were sent out, and they made war against those who worshiped the golden calf, which was the Erev Rav. So all of a sudden, the Levims being separated as this special nation, it's mentioned again suddenly in the Torah by this business with the clouds of glory moving away. And Rashi comes to tell us, because here again the Levim did their magic, and they were the one that chased after the Jewish people in order to bring them back and save them. So we wound up saying these things are not once upon a time stories. They're all relevant at every time, and specifically right now. And he said that basically Jewish people are in a state of gullus. We find ourselves oftentimes that we have physical problems against the nations around us. We find that they're stronger and we're weaker. We seem to rely on them, and we need help from this one, and we need to be afraid of from the other ones. And we said basically this whole situation has to be seen in its proper light, right? That despite all this, we're going to Eretz Yisrael, and we're going to the Eretz Tova Rachava, the spacious and broad land, and we're going to go in its wholeness. And this idea that there are those who want to make a claim that relax for a second, right? Eretz Yisrael is a tiny little land, and we need help, and we're have our backs against the wall. Therefore, we need to fit in, right? We need to make ourselves look presentable to the world. And we can't go in this way where we're completely isolated and different. And therefore we have to follow in the ways of the Erev Rav, who said, Eile Elokecha Yisrael. The Erev Rav, they said, since the Goyim in Mitzrayim served the idol of the Egel, so we should do it too, right? And so this is the same Erev Rav, and when push comes to shove, they are not really ready to go to Eretz Yisrael. And they're amongst what we call the Yordim. The Rabbi said, I don't know if people call them so much anymore, but we said yesterday, that there's this idea of making a Aliyah, and there's also the idea of making a Yerida, that people came to Eretz Yisrael, but then sort of like backed off from staying in the fight. And he said, these are the people who need to be gathered by the Levim. The Levim are the ones coming into Eretz Yisrael and pushing it. And the way they do it is by denying this reality of the Egel, where there's a faction amongst our people who are trying to convince us to stay connected with the idol worship of Mitzrayim, which is essentially to compare ourselves to them and try and fit in with them, realize that we need them, and they're sort of looming over us. Okay, did you have a question? Yeah. They brought a good number of Jews with them.
Why not just, let them go?
Good question. Good question. We're going to actually answer that question. It's part of the conversation. It's a very good question. Yes. Why don't we just let them go back and leave them?
Yeah, they're all filmmakers.
Right. Okay. We're going to see. Let's let the Rabbi answer. Someone else had a question? We're going to go on. Oh, I didn't give you guys the papers. My bad. Let's pass these out. 308. Here, pass those around first. Fine. Okay. Here, let's see if you can go pass those around real quick. So what he winds up saying at the end of this last paragraph here is that there's certain amongst us, this Erev Rav, right, who will say that the Bnei Yisrael, we're a small nation. As I said before, we need the help of the others, right? Some we need to help. They need to help us. Some we need to be afraid of them. In other words, we're just like sort of in this wave of overcoming us from every angle. And therefore, in order to fit in with them, we need to compare ourselves to them. And therefore, just like they have the egel, we have to have the egel. This is now the very, very last line on the line, page 308, the very last line. And this is what we ran out. This is what the Torah is coming to tell us. Don't think that you're going to all of a sudden make an egel, right? You're going to be one of this Erev Rav, and achar kach holchim le'Eretz Yisrael. And then no problem, I'll make an egel, but nowhere, it's not going to get in my way of conquering the land and heading to Eretz Yisrael. No. Osam Yehudim she'osim es ha'egel Rachman al-Islam, those very Jews that make the egel. And again, what is the egel? Trying to fit in with the nations, trying to be a goy like amongst other goyim. This is what's called making the egel, thinking that you have to be like the Mitzrayim. Don't think that you're going to be like that and also have Eretz Yisrael. Not going to happen. Sof, borchim min Eretz Yisrael. What do we see? Those same people that made the egel, they were the first ones to run when danger came. They ran away from Eretz Yisrael. They don't really want it, and they can't have it, and have it, and their cake and eat it too. You can't go in. It's not going to be in your nature to fight for the land in the way that you need to if you're busy with this egel business. The gorim mahem od Yehudim, and not only are they going to not get in, they're going to drag other Jews with them. Ba'amram, by saying Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Katana, Eretz Yisrael is just this little land. Yesh b'harbe k'shayim, it's so difficult to live there. Why do you want to have a kipat barzel over your head saving you? Why do you need to run into the mamad every 10 minutes? Lumazos, Eretz Mitzrayim, Eretz Gedol Rachava, Egypt, America. It's such a big and spacious land. Lo be'erech yosem Eretz Yisrael. It's completely beyond in its comforts to Eretz Yisrael and its ease of life. Yesh ba'kol tuv mitzgashmi. It has every good thing you can imagine. It has tarbut, culture, the kol amarim bishin, basically all the shmutz. Sheyesh be'eretz Mitzrayim. Anything you want, you can find over there. They'll claim, and they'll try and get other Jews to claim. In other words, being in Mitzrayim is the way to go. Don't run to Eretz Yisrael and fight this war that's ahead of you. Let's go back. Yeshnam, he says, al derech zeh b'yameinu. So in this nature is so in our days. Yeshnam hatoni. There are those that claim, shechdei lios adamina yishuv. If you want to be like a normal settled person, a mensch gleich, in other words, a mensch like all other menschen, equal to everybody, which means you're going to have beautiful clothes on, and you're going to have a nice new car, and you're going to build yourself a career, and you're going to be a chevra man and have all the kavod of the society around you. You can't do that, and laniach tefillin, and daven 3 times a day, and keep kashrus, right? You can't do that and try and be such a mensch amongst the world and not have what's called hasagas gavul. You have to dip into the other guy's pocket a little bit. No, you got to make yourself a proper business, right? You can't close your shop on Shabbos and Yom Tov, right? You can't take a position where you're going to need to keep the Shulchan Aruch, right? There's certain things you're going to have to do, but Shulchan Aruch is in your way. And if you're a Kohen, you can't take a job you can't leave off taking a job in a hospital, right? Because a Kohen can't go into a lot of hospitals because they have a morgue in there, and the Kohen's not allowed to be in a building with a dead body in it. So it's like, look, I can't. What do you want from me? I have to live my life. I can't just keep this pesky Shulchan Aruch. Can't go into the hospital. Who says? Right? So I can't compete with them. Right? I have to basically play their game. I can't open my store on Shabbos. How are we going to make it? And therefore, we're not going to be able to exist. In other words, they're going to make the claim in their minds that they're defending Jewish existence. Because they're saying, we won't make it unless we worship the Egel. In other words, they're going to say, this is the way for Jewish continuity and survival. We have to live, and therefore we have to break Shabbos. It's a fact. This is their claim. Those who are making such a claim, it's from those people who make such a claim where all these thousands that are called Yordim are leaving Eretz Yisrael. Right? In other words, because they're saying, what are we doing in this little land? But it's such a balagan. We have to survive. Eretz Yisrael is not a place we can survive. We can't survive like that. We have to go into the broad and spacious land and act like the goyim. The Rebbe says these Yordim, these descenders, they might think they're just going from one country to another country. What's the difference? I moved from Poland to America. I'll move from Israel to America. Look, Amiso Shel Davar, the fact is, it is like its name, the name that the Jewish people have collectively called it, a Yordim. It's mamash a Yerida. It's a true descent in life. Don't leave. Zohi Nasiya Me'eretz Asher Gomer Tamid Einea Hashem Elokecha Ba Mereshis Hashana V'Achri Shana. What this really is journeying from a place where the eyes of God are on this land from the beginning of the year to the end of the year continuously. Right? You're leaving the presence of God. Meaning you're going to leave a land where you feel through the duration of the day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching every single Jew individually. Right? And not just in the beginning of the year, not just in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, like the high holidays. Right? But every moment there's this hashgacha that you feel like you're in the Holy Land. There's something different. It's undeniable. Every day of the year you're found mamish with Hashem in His Daled Amos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu may beat alav, and Hashem looks upon you. Im hu shomer kashrus. Are you keeping kosher? Are you putting on tefillin? Shomer Shabbos v'Yom Tov. Are you mechanech as a yeladav? Are you educating your children in the way of Torah? The boys and the girls learning Torah, Torah's emes, and fulfilling the mitzvah in your daily life. Yeshua? Why were people leaving? Why were the people who were leaving America leaving America? I'm sorry, leaving Israel. He was saying they came to Israel to live there, right? What happened suddenly to them that they decided to leave? Who needs this balagan? This little country, we're constantly in a state of war, we're constantly in a state of balagan. What do I need it for? I'm going to go to a broad and spacious land, the US of A, right, where the streets are paved with gold. I'll live a better life there. I'll live a more secure Jewish life. I'll secure my existence as a Jew there more than here. The comparison is obvious, right? The Rebbe, whatever reasons he had not to come to Eretz Yisrael, one of the reasons that he had to, many reasons, they asked the Rebbe many different times, many occasions. One of them was that if he ever came, he could not ever leave, because you're not allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael, right? So on the contrary, if you come already, stay put. And of course, the Rebbe sent countless thousands here. And you can see how intense, so this that people make claims, well, the Rebbe didn't go to Eretz Yisrael. You see how he talks about Eretz Yisrael. He had his reasons, and they were the reasons of a Nasi Ador, which again, he gave many, and now is not necessarily time to go into them all, but he had his justifications, and obviously He knew what he was doing for the sake of Torah and for the sake of Am Yisrael. In any case, Hashem is looking at you every second, watching you here, and you feel it. You feel it more. It's a different situation. Actually, I was talking to some of my friends that traveled, to America, and they said that the kids all wanted to come back right away. Why? Because we're at war, and here, when the whole nation is, the heartbeat and the pulse of everybody is pumping together as one. And we're all feeling like we're in this thing, and we're alive, and it's. They said they go over there, and it's like you walk down the street, nothing's happening. No one's talking about it. It's not the center of the world. Over there, the feeling is like, okay, I heard there's something going in Israel. I'm really sorry for your people. Can you pass the hamburger? So like the kids who grew up in Eretz Yisrael and were here in this experience, they felt palpably, get me out of this place. There's no one's paying attention to reality over here. What's going on? Right? It's a real feeling. It's not a theoretical. There's an absolute feeling of being in Eretz Yisrael, and why we should tap into it. Kadesh Eretz Yisrael tia roi lishma, in order for the Holy Land to be fitting for its name, which is called Eretz Yisrael, lo rak eretz shayeches liYehudim. It's not just a land which is like relevant to Jews, because we have a Jewish star on our flag. But rather, Eretz Yisrael has to be an Eretz which is Chador b'Yahadus. It has to be an Yiddish land, the Rabbi says. It has to be a Jewish land. It's not just a land where Jews live. This has to be a Jewish land. Ein derech acheretz mivad shlius ha'egel. You know how you make a Jewish land? There's no other way except to get rid of this egel. To get rid of this philosophy that we want to be like the Goyim. You can't have Eretz Yisrael and want to be like the Goyim at the same time. It's not going to work. You see, those who wanted to be like the Goyim, they ran from Eretz Yisrael. The Erev Rav. Ha'egel she'elav nishtachin kol umas ha'olam. Right? You have to destroy this egel. This egel that the whole world is bowing down to. Lo zul bilvad shelo mishtachim melav. Not only do we not bow down to it, ela adarabah sorfimo. So you have to burn it, right? What happened with the egel? Moshe took it and he burned it into little crumbs. V'lo osam zos lo osim zos b'seiser mipnei shemizbaishim mikach. We don't do it privately either, because we're embarrassed to burn the egel, right? This whole ways of the world and what the world considers to be normal. Not only do we not bow down to it, and not only do we burn it, but we don't burn it privately. Elamodim lekol ha'umos shebekol ha'olam. We stand up proudly. We say to all the worlds, Lo yeh lecha elokim acherim. Don't have other gods. Shekis tishaktzenu v'sa'er tisavenu. This is disgusting and this is foul. We stand up proudly and burn their gods in their faces. That's how you make an Eretz Yisrael. V'zo ma'ilish shevet Levi shelo talvig. This is the shevet Levi. In other words, and we said before, every Jew can join the shevet Levi. There's a halach in the Rambam that actually says that we are able to join ourselves and be separated into this crowd, this chief crowd of Moshe Rabbeinu, even today. And by the way, also non-Jews. We learned a whole sikha about it, or we mentioned the sikha. The lashon of the Rambam there is kol ish ve'ish mikol ba'i olam. He says every man, and he says a double lashon, man, from anyone in the world. And the Rebbe explains, you might think in order to do this, you have to be a Talmud scholar and put yourself into a Levitical city like Sfat and learn Torah all day. No, it says ish. You can do this as a businessman. And not only can you do this as a businessman, a man in the world, but you can even do it as a non-Jew. And that's what it says, Mikol Boy Olam. In other words, it's just the truth, standing up for the truth, right? So he says, this is the Indian of the Shevet Levi that did not err in the Egel. Therefore, they became the leaders of the Jewish people. All the Jews want to go in that way that the Levim showed them. When they stood up and had this courage to burn the Egel and kill, the worshippers of the Egel in the eyes of everybody, it struck a chord in the Jewish heart, and they became the leaders. Yes, we want to be like you. Leilech le'eretz Yisrael. We want to go to Eretz Yisrael, right? Not on the phone. You can't find it there. And you want to make it a land which is broad and spacious and good, both beruchnius and bagashmius. The Rebbe says, this is not something that it just happened in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, but the Torah is eternal. As the Alter Rebbe says, You have to live with the times. Those who really hold by Eretz Yisrael, they really mamash believe in a Jewish land. And they want Jews to live in this land. They first and foremost, you got to burn the idol, right? He's saying powerful things. We don't really want to spell it out, but he's spelling it out. Who's holding with his idol? Any assimilated Jew. Let's face it. He's saying, you think you're a big supporter because you give your money to the Jewish National Fund and you planted a tree. If you want Eretz Yisrael, you can't also have the assimilation. You can't also have the idol. If you really think that you mamash hold by this land and you want to see a Jewish land, isn't that something that the UN delineated for us, blah, blah, blah? You've got to burn the egel. That's how you get in. That's your keys to the land. You have to know we're not like the other nations. Rather, what are we? That we are, as it says in Parshas Balak, right? The prophecy. We are a nation that dwells alone, and we do not contend with any of the goyim around us. We can't mix in. We don't mix in. We're not counted amongst the nations. How many nations are there? Do you know there's actually 71? And we're the 71. But we say there's 70 nations. Why? Because we don't count amongst them. We're not part of that situation. Hagoyim eino machnisinu sam b'neihem. Let me tell you something. The goyim don't let us into their nations. Because they know that Jews and goy don't go together. Not that we have to be in a state of antagonism, but we don't live the same life. We don't intermarry. They know very well. The difference is the goyim remember this. The goyim for sure know. And Rahman al-Atzlan, they are not afraid to show us that we're not like them and we don't fit in like them. And God forbid, every opportunity they get, they show us. Okay?
Just like Kamala Harris picking the guy from Minnesota instead of the Jew.
The whole situation. There's never been a generation. Look, we love our Gentile neighbors, but the reality is, what's happening? It's covered up. But the reality is, there's never been a stretch. We amongst us, 2024 dwellers of the earth, that the days of mamish like worldwide Jewish persecution was Baruch Hashem a thing of the past. Because whatever, we're done with that. How clearly do you have to see that with like mamish the snap of a fingers, the entire world happily will march in the streets against us, every single country you can find. They know, right? We don't go together. And why are they doing that? Because we pretend that we could just like stroll amongst them like it's all good. The point is, Jews and non-Jews are separate from each other. The goyim remember this, whereas the Jews, there's Jews that want to fool themselves. This is the Rabbi speaking. Sometimes the Rabbi will tell you the truth, always, but sometimes mamish in your face. He says there's Jews. The goyim know the Jews. Some of them they want to push and fool themselves. They claim they say we can make a little deal with the Shulchan Aruch. And we can lachnis ma'at devarim zarim. We can bring a little bit of the beauty of Yafyoso shel Yafes. You know, Yafes was one of the sons of Shem, sons of Noach, and he basically went on to create beautiful nations, right? Ashur and Greece and all these beautiful delicacies and culture of the world. The Jews will say, you know what, we'll take some of that. We'll sneak in a little. Okay, the Shulchan Aruch, we put it on the side for a second because Ferraris are awesome. And they'll claim they're fooling themselves, meaning to say they're not mamish full-blown idol worshippers, but they'll bring it in a little bit, but without taking out Hashem, chas v'shalom. But rather they'll say, Eile Elokech Yisrael. These are your gods, Yisrael, as though you can have two gods. There's God, the real God, and there's the Egel Azav, and there's the golden calf. And what's the big deal? Don't get in my face. Okay, I believe in God, and I also have a little golden calf in me. What's the problem? Chas v'shalom. I'll have a Rav, I have a rabbi, right? You go to your rabbi over there, you ask him a few things. And also, I have other friends, right? We do other things together. I don't invite the rabbi to those parties. And honestly, let everyone go and do what they want. He says, why can't a Jew do both? I can't have a little bit of both worlds. I have to be separate. The Goyim know you can't be separate. You have a consideration that you're fooling yourself that you can just be one of them. You'll say, when I'm in the house, I'll be shaykh to Hashem Echad. And when I go out to the which is the United Nations, there I'll bring my ego with me. That's what they have. Everyone, all the other 119 spots. How many people are in the United Nations? Whatever, all the nations. Each one has their little ego. The Jewish state, another little ego. Right? And we'll be equal to everyone, and they'll pay attention to us and be one. Don't you find it a little bit strange that every single day they sit in the United Nations and make sanctions only against the Jewish state? Where Iran sits on the Council of Women's Rights and Human Rights, and the Jewish people are filled with animosity and hatred for the whole world, and this is like what the normal conversation is? Can you see that it's so an obvious thing? They know the score. Why don't we? And we go in there with a little bow tie, no yarmulke, and try and speak to the world with an egel in our hand. You can't do it. That's not the way to get to Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, Metzias Kazu Eni Yecholios. Rabbi says, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. O the egel, o HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have to choose. And this is what Eliyahu Hanavi said. Ad masai atem poschim al shnei stifim. Until when? You're going to guys sit on the fence. Right? If you go ahead.
This is more what you were saying before, but couldn't it be said that it would be easier to be Makar of Jews if they moved to Eretz Yisrael even further from? If you have all the religion together, you make a bigger impact.
The Rebbe actually, on that point, you asked if we should bring all the Jews here and then Makar of them. Bring them closer to God. The Rebbe said there's not necessarily. Obviously, if that was the move, the Rebbe would have called for the worldwide, like Aliyah movement, right? Yeah. He obviously was very keen on everyone coming to Eretz Yisrael and making it a holy place. But on the contrary, coming to the palace of the king and disgracing it is worse than making a disgrace out of yourself outside the palace of the king. So the Rebbe would always tell people to make Aliyah, but you have to up your game if you're going to make Aliyah. Don't just go there and act a disgrace. Go there as a Jewish land. Because if you're going to go to what's supposed to be a Jewish land and you're going to act like a non-Jew, so then you're desecrating the Jewish land in a far greater way. Go be in a non-Jewish land and desecrate. Fine, we'll work on you over there. We'll send you up. But in the meantime, it's not the thing as far as the Rebbe was concerned. On the contrary, the Rebbe sent thousands and thousands of people to all the other lands in order to strengthen them and get them ready to come to Eretz Yisrael. So they come proper. And those who he sent to Eretz Yisrael, in the thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, okay, that's their tafkid, it's their job to do it here and to strengthen the people who are here, etc. But no, as a general, that there are for sure those. This is the whole, Zioni movement, which was a very hot topic. The Rebbe was criticized for not saying all Jews to Eretz Yisrael immediately, let's go. But he had a different view on the matter. Anyway, you got to choose. If you can't stand on the fence. If God is your God, you must go after Him. And those that say, God forbid, the opposite, don't fool yourself at least, right? You have to know that you're not also going with Hashem. You can't also pretend that you love Eretz Yisrael and that your mom is going with God when you're busy with an egel in your pocket. It just doesn't work like that. It's black and white. In other words, going against the idols is not just that you put on tefillin, keep kosher, Shabbos and Yom Tov, but as it says in the Torah, it has to do also with the physical land. Just like you can't fool yourself and say, I'm going to be with God and have idols at the same time, you cannot get Eretz Yisrael and say, I'm going to have idols at the same time. It just doesn't go together. And we wonder why we're sitting here unable to conquer this place and make it a Jewish land, because it's not going to be done with weapons and swords. It can't be done with weapons and swords. No matter how many weapons and swords you're going to bring. Those who felt that the egel was a reality, because the goyim hold by such an egel. As we saw from this very parsha that we're discussing, the first opportunity Those who held by the Egel, they ran from Eretz Yisrael, because you can't have both. Now, to Yeshua's question, tomorrow. But I'm going to just address it right now. This is the Indian that we learned from the Shevet Levi, that they ran after them, and they didn't just let them go. Right? And the message kind of is obvious, and we'll delve into it much more tomorrow. But no, we don't let them go. We might say, you're a Jew worshipping idols, get out of my face, you got no place here. No. You're coming with us too. And we're going to chase you down, like journey after journey, till 8 journeys if we have to. And mamash fight with you, but we're not just going to let you walk off back to Mitzrayim. We all have to do this together, and this is what's going to happen. It's going to be a difficult task. Guess who we need to do it? The Levim. Who are the Levim? They used to say that the mamash, the Rebbe's soldiers are the Levim. That's it. Chayali Beis David. Okay, more for tomorrow.